This video is sponsored by Care of. Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be sharing a couple of easy and quick ways to make your notes look a little bit cuter. I can testify that it is in fact possible to keep up with a teacher or professor who is just spitting a freestyle rap instead of speaking at a normal pace, while incorporating a few of these tips and techniques. So without further ado, let's jump into the ideas. Our first category is a couple of easy but aesthetic and punchy title ideas, because if you have a nice, bold, attention-grabbing title design, it can really distract from any absolute garbage pile mess disaster that may be happening below it. And just for an organization technique, it really helps to have a clear title. That way you can flip through your notes and easily be able to tell what topic you're covering.
To start with, I think the absolute easiest thing you can do to make your title stand out is to write as you normally would, but using a nice, thick, juicy, and crisp black marker instead of your normal pen or pencil. To add a little bit of extra spice, you can do the exact same thing, but using a colorful marker. I find that it's quite economical to get colored markers instead of colored pens anyways, so use it in your titles, color your little heart away. You can also try out a couple of quick, easy ways to change up your handwriting. For instance, cursive. And no, you don't need to learn the fancy calligraphy style I'm doing here. I'm sure we've all just learned basic, regular, joined letters cursive in grade school, although I am becoming an old woman, so I'm not really 100% sure what they teach the kiddos in school these days. Something else you can try is tall, thin capital letters, which I'm not sure how to explain except for that they are tall, thin capital letters. Hopefully the visual is self-explanatory. Next, let's talk about add-ons, which you can combine with the other methods that I previously mentioned, or as the name would suggest, you can just add on to your regular handwriting. And the first is just a squiggly little line underneath the text. You can also just draw a rectangle around your words, which I know seems very basic, but it looks really good and it works for everyone, even if you think you have very little artistic ability. So quadrilateral it up, even if you think you can't do perfect right angles to make a rectangle. This next idea is something I personally believe that I popularized in the Studygram community because I started doing this like 5 years ago and I've been in this community for so freaking long. Maybe that makes me big-headed, but long-winded tangents aside, the idea is basically to draw two horizontal bars using a highlighter or the thick side of a marker. Something else you can try with your highlighters is to highlight underneath your text, kind of making a colored-in box. You can also add two cute little symbols on the sides of your regular title, like stars or hearts or smiley faces or leaves or anything that you desire. My final, fanciest, yet still simple title idea is to draw a banner. And it's a lot easier than it looks. You just draw a line on top of the text, a line below the text, and then a greater than symbol and less than symbol to close off that banner box.
Alrighty, it is me, 5 hours later, because I forgot to film this the first time, here to bring you a word from today's sponsor, Care of. Care of is a vitamin supplement brand that also provides personalized resources. I took the quiz and started using the daily vitamin packs about a month and a half ago, and I've really been enjoying it so far. The vitamins I have are calcium, which supports bone health, especially because I'm lactose intolerant, iron, which helps with energy and cognitive function, and this is especially important for me because I have a diagnosed iron deficiency. What up? Almost anemic, gang. And the last herbal supplement that they recommended for me is rhodiola, which is meant to help with endurance and exercise recovery. With the new year vibes coming along, one of the main things I'm trying to do is look for these smaller ways to take care of my health and make it joyful whenever possible. And I feel like these cute little supplement packets with the daily quotes and adorable graphics just make me happier when I'm taking them and therefore more likely to actually do what is necessary to support my health. Care of also sets itself apart from other vitamin brands because they offer a holistic online quiz to help you identify what vitamins and supplements might help your needs, and it's all conveniently delivered in one package to your door every month. Additionally, the daily packs are made with compostable, eco-friendly film that you can find out how to compost at takecareof.com/p/eco. So if this sounds interesting, you can take the quiz and see what vitamins and supplements Care of will recommend for you at the link in the description. and you can use my code STUDYquill for 50% off your first order. That's all for the sponsored segment, and now back to your note-taking tips. Next, let's talk about a couple of swaps you can make within your studying toolkit. One thing to keep in mind though is that don't focus too much on this section if you haven't yet mastered your actual note-taking methods, because supplies are not the thing that will make you organized and studious. You're the only one who can do that.
That reminder to be mindful of your consumerism aside, here are my swap recommendations. First, I definitely recommend making the swap from taking notes in pencil to black pen. It always looks nicer for some reason. I think it's because the black pen contrasts more sharply with the white paper and the lighter gray or blue lines on the page. And although the difference doesn't look so stark on camera for some reason, the pencil gray is significantly lighter than the black of a black pen, so it doesn't look as nice with highlighter over it. I know it's a bit scary, but once you get used to using whiteout instead of an eraser, it's pretty much the same experience except more aesthetically pleasing. You've probably already heard of my next swap idea, but just in case you haven't, let me introduce you to the wonders of pastel highlighters. The muted color palette is just so much easier on the eyes than neon traditional highlighters. And if you don't want to buy new highlighters, you can also just use a Crayola Super Tip set. They've got a lot of nice pastel and muted colors in there. Speaking of highlighters, I would also recommend opting for thinner tipped highlighters over thicker ones when you can. Maybe this is just because I do have quite small handwriting, so it just looks more natural for me to use a thinner highlighter with my short, small handwriting, but I don't know, to me it just looks a lot nicer. Also, try to find paper with lighter or thinner lines printed on it so that it doesn't clutter up the page as much, it doesn't stand out as much, and draw away attention from the words you're writing down. The third category is just some general formatting tips, which is something you will kind of have to think about before you start taking notes and carry on throughout the entire process. So it's not as much of an easy 5-second hack as the rest of them, but here are some things to keep in mind. The best way to prevent your notes from looking overly cramped is to leave a lot of white space wherever you can, like skipping a line after each section or leaving your margins nice and wide. You could also consider folding your page in half and writing with 2 columns instead of just one really large one. It kind of eliminates the unevenness on the right-hand side and instead corrals the text into 2 nice rectangles, although your mileage may vary. And lastly, I want to point out 2 minor details about bullet points. The first is that a dot circle bullet point tends to look a lot nicer than a dash, in my opinion. Also, if you have a mega long line of text that goes over to the next line below it, make sure that you line up the start of that second line with where the first line of text starts, not where the bullet point on the first line starts. That verbal explanation just sounds very clunky, so for the visual, the one on the top just tends to look a little bit worse than the one on the bottom. Next, let's talk about visual aids, and contrary to popular belief on StudyGram, you do not in fact have to go full-on Picasso and make a masterpiece out of your sheet of binder paper. Instead, here are a couple of ideas for ways you can add visual appeal and some actual useful studying tools, all without having a single lick of artistic talent. One thing you can do that requires literally 0 artistic ability is to decorate with stickers. It really appeases that inner 3rd grader inside of me who's been collecting stickers for an entire decade. I also recommend printing out diagrams whenever possible because it serves as a helpful reference for your studying and it means that you don't have to draw them yourself. Another thing to print out that will make your life easier is these various templates that kind of depend on the subject you're studying. For example, if you're doing polar coordinates, you can print out polar graphs, or for organic chemistry, you can print out these hexagon writing paper sheets. Last but not least, you can also print out photos that are relevant to the subject material and can both add a little bit of spice to the visual appeal of your page and just help you understand the material better. For example, for my film notes, I put in a photo of the visual style that I'm discussing. And those are all of the ideas I wanted to share with you. I hope you found them helpful, although one thing to keep in mind is that aesthetic does not equal effective studying. So although some of these tips and tricks can increase your studying efficiency in some ways, they really are focused on aesthetic. If you would like some more functional note-taking techniques, I will have more videos about that linked in the description. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I upload new videos about student life every week.
You can also check out my Instagram, my TikTok, and my second channel for some study-related and very much non-study related content. See you next time!